Okay, we are live. Yes, we are live. Just get a little bit of connection problem, even though we are live on one or two platforms. Let me just see quickly whether we can get those platforms connected. Shouldn't be difficult. It takes seconds. Yes, we got it. Okay. Pambulem, bring warm greetings to Una. This is the TNN podcast. Today, obviously, now the 26th of April 2024. And the significance of this particular broadcast or this particular day is now the eve of the 63rd independence anniversary of Sierra Leone. This year will not get any lineup per se. Okay. I'm not going to say we drop down in terms of broadcast. But what you be want to do, now reflection now we be one for do. Or reflect to the past. Because we been do couple of conversations pre 63-year-old. Now I want for play on a tape where we do back in that was 2021, I believe. Okay, 3 years ago. So I want to join we una help for shape because we can't show on this video where we do this broadcast where we do some 3 years ago with Chernoh Alpha of the African Express. This is when Chernoh Alpha was at the height of the conversation, center, top, middle, anywhere of the conversation. So don't go away, please help for shape. I hope say yes. Yes, indeed. Okay. I'm sure say fumble and hear me. I will just repeat again for make sure say we get this first part. So again, fumble and I want welcome una to this very special program. Today na the 26th of April 2024. The significance of this broadcast na because this particular day na the eve of Salone in independence and we will be 63 years old. We're not getting a special lineup for this particular day, either this eve or for tomorrow, as we usually do over the years, where we can invite significant guests there for can have a conversation or take a microphone and walk out the streets, and talk to people and for let them give them view as to how they see the Salone independence, how they come on, what you don't do, what you don't achieve, if any, what you hope for, what at the downside, the upside. But this year, what you want for do, we want for reflect. We can do this a lot now, the TNN podcast. So this year, we play an interview where we been get on the eve of Salone independence some 3 years ago, where we star guest at the time was Chernoh Alpha M Bah of the African Express, who we get a lengthy interview with. The significance of this particular tape I want play una, or the downside to this tape I want play una is, we will get a set of guests them, heavyweights they will be lined up, such as Dr. Kande Koleyum Kela at the time, where himself been there on top of the game when a lot of people been to look up to in a positive sense for way in on the conversation, will be actually getting at the back room. In other words, we don't provide access, you don't click on the access, it did at the back room. It was just a matter of bringing him on when he was ready. And for some reason, will not be able for Brian come on. That's for history or talk about him another day. Another very important guest we been in the room was Ibrahim Tawa Conte. Himself at the time, he had been there at the height of his career where it be appear as if he was this kind of a controversial figure because he was challenging government on many, many fronts. Politics as usual, which is very interesting in the Sierra Leonean setting. At that particular period, the politics be very interesting for one particular reason. people that may challenge government, and we may see actual actions and results, and the confrontation, not in a physical sense, the war of words, and at least people the way they stand up to government at the time and ask questions or they do them work, especially as MP, been very, very crucial, and that been the happen at the time. But this is now and it's completely different. So, like I say again, just for remind una we don't join, please help for share this tape. This tape, it goes back like 3 years ago when we celebrated we 63 years independence. Now the time now we been get this tape here. Okay. So now that now we can play back. We call them a replay. Okay. We do call them a replay. So they are help for shape. And again, this now the TNN podcast. My name is Prince Emil Kroma. Today, now the 26th, the eve of Salone independence. We can play on a tape which is about 3 years old. Don't touch that dial. There is no volume. There is no volume. There is no volume. Wanna bear with me, please? We come. Wanna bear with me? Just want to check my volume. Where I just realized, see, it look like say the volume they get problem. Una way they watch you, una tell me, okay, I think say the volume is good. Okay, volume is good. All right. So let's get to the tip. Yes, Fambulem. A warm welcome and greetings and salutations from the then and now media empire. Today, the eve of the independence of the Republic of Sierra Leone. Now, our host and presenter, Prince Emil Kroma, Cantona, live from the United Kingdom. Fambulem, this is a very, very special occasion
with very, very special guests. And we want to let everybody as possible come onto this program so that you will be a part of a very, very significant period now the history of we country, which is about to celebrate 60 years of independence. By this program today, we get a man we don't need for belabor for introduce him, because for the past many, many months, this man has become a household name, a household face. Everybody, and when I say everybody, I mean everybody Sabiam. If you know Sabiam, that means you know the Sierra Leone matters and etc. But not only in one grain, although in program this today, for can provide perspective and reflection on 60 years of independence. Also upon this program today, would expect them big allejo them for come and weigh in with their perspective and reflection of 60 years of independence for the Republic of Sierra Leone. The flag we have seen on the background, with all due respect, the beautiful colors, green, white, and blue, the blown at the wind beyond a blue and white nimbus sky. We expect Dr. Kande Keller for at least make a 5-minute contribution to the program. Yes, when I hear me right. And you not stop there. We also expect the man who we named last year as the MP of the year, Honorable Ibrahim Tawa Conte, for also call the program and talk at least about 5 minutes or more if he wants about perspective in country. And we get many more. We get many political party people when they come. The NDA Amadou Bari. We get Umfaji Kaba of Kamarimba in party. We get Wadi Williams. We get Arnold Bendu. So we get a studded star list we would expect for turn up today for grace this occasion, which is none other but the 60th independence anniversary on this very eve of the auspicious day where it's just about for unfold on us. What do you think? I want to let the chat room be busy, but I want to let we accord each other respect whilst we keep the chat room very, very busy. Remember, we've only got one country, and that one country day, now national duty for let we all see say that country they better. So despite with different views, we they expect say them views, then they in the end we go disagree for agree, because the bottom line is we want one common good for the country for go before let all man better. So like I've been say, it's a star-studded guest list, and we they expect reflection and perspective from big stakeholder them na we society. So family, once more, I want to remind you now, this is now the eve of the 60th anniversary celebration of we country. Salone attained independence in 1961. And let us give a brief background, just a brief one, because this is nothing where we all kind of familiar with. And here it is. So in 1961, we know say we people like kind of Lancaster House, after much deliberation back home, even though some people may still say, well, no, we don't want the election now, we're not ready for it, or certain things have to be done. But eventually we did get the elections, and what a feeling it was, despite the disappointment by others, for our people to be free, for take their own destiny in their own hands. But 60 years on, we are where we are, and we want to know the way other people and feel about them, and some of them will be with very political leaders now the Republic of Sierra Leone. And also we get Mr. Chernoh Alpha M Bah of the Africanist Press here for guide. So anyway, without much ado, make us see. I think say we get Dr. Kande Keller on the line, and we get and we get Honorable Tawa Conte, and we go allow them, because now very busy people, and let them offer them perspective and their reflection or reflect back on 60 years of independence. So Dr. Kande, if you hear me, sir, you can come on if you're not ready. If you're not ready yet, no problem. We can move on to Honorable Ibrahim Tawa Conte for later express some reflection and perspective on 60 years of independence. So whenever one are ready, sirs, but the program is on. And Fambulan Lekadeteruna, this is a very big and auspicious occasion for we the Sierra Leoneans them, and the ask Fambulan una continue for share this. This is huge. This is massive. Dr. Kande Keller can assure una is here for provide at least 5 minutes of perspective, and even if you want more, we will offer more time. Ibrahim Tawakon Honorable is also on the platform for offer perspective as well on 60 years of independence. And I shall say we will hear from them very, very soon. In the meantime, the man who is here with me in the studio is none other but the Africanist Press biggest whistleblower, a man where, you know, sort of people and they look at him somehow, but here for can't tell we why up to this time with all the information and the way don't pull a kind of split opinion. I don't know what's in the percentage and no one gets percentage or percentages, but there are many things we give in reports them credibility and they speak from a perspective of statistics and the science and data. This is where I speak from when I say this. But in self there and go help for chat with we today. So before the guests then they come, I want to turn this thing to 200. So that 200 they will go multiply into 400, and we expect 1,000 plus or more live viewers tonight for such an auspicious occasion. And I want for wish every Sierra Leonean, I want to use this opportunity on the Den and Now platform for wish every Sierra Leonean a happy 60 years independence anniversary. We know that things are not the way we expected, we aspirations, we hopes, they kind of look dashed, but the feeling, you know, of optimism, it always supposed for day because a feeling of hope can always drive people towards raising the standards for better living condition of we all. But if we sort of give up, then imagine what a country we would have left behind for we people them. This is why much respect has to be given to we leadership them, especially the one that we didn't have tonight for can help we for understand where we were and where we go. And like I say again, we get the guests them, some of the guests them already did in the chat room, and any moment from now, I don't know who wants to go first, but anytime when they're ready, of course, the platform is ready for take them on this journey. So again, like I've been saying, Fambolem, this na the Den and Now platform they come to na on the eve of independence. Okay, I've been telling us say beaucoup people want to join the program tonight, and they want to contribute to the program, and we will keep them in the chat room, and we go wait and see who that one take the opportunity first. But whilst we wait, here are the things. In 1961. We attained we independence, and there was much to celebrate for. I know that there is huge disappointment. Again, like I said earlier on, the expectations of the people were dashed. The hopes of people were dashed. But notwithstanding, our country is still there to be managed, and only together we can happen for manage them. The task in front of us are enormous. It's a Herculean task, just like the mountains we surround we. Now, so for climbing the mountain in terms of the development of a country are difficult. But then they probably a good might come from there. And that is if we show dedication and commitment and sincerity. And these are the points out to leadership. In 1961, I wasn't born yet, but a few years after, I met the things them of 1961 and prior to 1961. In other words, a system. And by the time I grow up, they try to understand things. I've been so admire my country. And when I say admire, I mean them. Because then when we born now, we can't meet independence. Ruler with destiny in our own hands. The place been look so somehow when at in comparison to today. The place been so clean, structures and processes were in place. Okay, we had some form of democracy, and therefore we the people had hope in then things then they. There was a lot ongoing. There were not much fear, okay, because there was respect for law and order. There was respect for authority. But we know say there are questions today, we not begin today, it goes back many years before the now. But what I always say to family is, all the rubbish and the rotting when the state suffered from 1961 prior to the war was the consequence of the war itself. So that war, there was the huge sacrifice that we, the people, had to make just for make sure say that we rise up from the ashes of this war. and see a better Sierra Leone where we all can look up to, cherish, embrace, hug, and feel accomplished as citizens. But 60 years on, we understand the frustrations of we compatriots them by the huge disappointment which has met them. And the most recent one is after the war, I believe we've conducted 5 democratic elections. Some of the questions here tonight, are we making progress? Because we are supposed to be making progress. Are we progressing or are we retrogressing? These are the questions we'll be asking. All these things where we are hearing, is it filtering down to the people? Social welfare, are the needs of our people being met? These are all the questions we want for asked today. Not of we guess them, all we expect we guess them for do, now for offer a perspective, reflect on 60 years of independence. Again, now the studio with us here tonight is none other but the African president, Mr. Chernoh Alpha Bah. We don't release so much bombshell them in terms of where people will call whistleblowing on the current government. But a work they not just start now, because some people don't seem to understand this. I've referred people to his works. You can check Amazon. He's got a couple of books there that you can buy and read for yourself or yourselves. And you can find out, say, that them books there then go beyond. You can also see waiting on the happen at the country, like inside the parliament, for example. There have been reports where come out. Afrobarometer report points to parliament. Dr. Kande Yumkela has also raised his voice in the parliament. Say, some of these things, then the way out and they go, they're not supposed for the go so for a nascent democracy. Recently, he spoke fervently in a parliament, and that was a poignant speech, Dr. Kande, if you hear me. In other words, waiting with the see so or waiting some people and they do so today, other people then go come and do them, and in the end, we are making no progress. Hence, where I say we retrogress, because other people then go come and do them, and they might even do worse. So we get for set examples, we get for set standards. But are those standards being set? Inside the same parliament, we see another MP where we say we call the MP of the year for 2020. Luckily, we get on today and maybe go offer some perspective. We're not here for question any of these leaders today. We just want to hear some perspective and some views on independence. Sierra Leone at 60. Okay, Sierra Leone at 60. So let's see if I'm able to bring any one of them come in. Let me see if I'm able to bring any one of them come in. So in the meantime, I'm saying, Fambule, unallow continue for share, unallow we continue for engage meaningfully in the chat room. Okay, let's show each other some decency and some respect. Let's show each other decency and respect. And let we be fervent about the issues that we did before we. Let we also look optimistically at the independent 60. We can get divergent views. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a democratic process. I don't have to think in the same way that you think, but we can have a conversation because we are all under the same boat, the flag for which we stand, the Republic of Sierra Leone. So Sierra Leone is at 60 just in less than 24 hours time. What do you think? What are your feelings? I want to see people and they have that chat day at the chat room. I really want to see people having this in the chat room, okay? I really want to see people and they have this in the chat room. Good. So I think we first guess we want to have a go. Let me see who is this. Who is this? Let me admit some more people. I see a few people coming. So for them one they will just join. We just want to remind Fambule and say this on the eve of independence, Sierra Leone at 60, would expect a reflective mood as to where we were, where we are, and where we are heading. What are you take? Where are we heading? Also, you aspire for Siwi now, despite the disappointments politically, economically, and socially. Where do you expect to see us in a few years' time? And one profound question is, one of legacy, and this goes to our leaders. And I think few of leaders, they don't raise this because it is of a concern that we have to leave our country behind in a solid state for we picking them. Because however, this is where we come from. We picking them, we grandpicking them, and we future bearers them. But we can't leave a country in tatters. Because honestly, this is the way it has looked like for the last 30 to 40 years. And like I say again, we did fight a war. The real cause of this war was more political because the national pie wasn't being shared fairly. Injustice, inequities, Baku, okay, no social justice. And as a matter of time, all of this mount up for mean something. And in the art of war, when you push people against the wall and there is no exit, these people definitely bounce back. They do come back. So we fed that war day. From the ashes of the war, some of us were really hopeful. Very, very hopeful. Thanks for the opportunity to engage you. Stop it for the second time. It was nice engaging. Many thanks, Harold. Many thanks. So we definitely need for left wing country in a solid state than even the way how we fend them. It is a civic responsibility. It is a moral obligation. Because I don't know how we go feel if we left them in tatters. And like I say again, I want to bring in Dr. Yumkela, if you hear me, sir. I know say you're busy. Maybe you can offer 5 minutes quickly of some reflection, if you can. Geneva Bao, if you want to participate, we go like for you from you. All the people that are waiting at the chat room, anybody want to reflect on the 60 years of independence, which is about to down on us. We go really like for a different perspective, shades of opinion today on 60 years of independence. So the floor generally is open. Yeah. So just in case you want to contribute, we will like for know that. Nice engaging you. Thank you very much. So there are a few questions, compliments that are coming my way. Let me just admit all these people that are in the waiting room. And like I say again, Fambulem, like I say again, Fambulem. Let me see what call is this. Probably somebody wants to participate. Somebody wants to participate. Matilda. Hello. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, hello, my dear. How are you?
I'm good. Please don't put me on speaker. Yeah, hi. Please don't put me on live. Yes, please don't put me on live. It's no call. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you. What's up?
I'm good. It's a personal call. Please don't put me on live.
Okay, hang on. Yeah. Okay, family, Una bear with me. I'll just take this important call. I will come back to Una shortly. Yes, how can I help you? And kids watching. Yeah, that's true. Many thanks. Many thanks for the observation. I appreciate that. Okay, Taylor. Thank you. Bye-bye. Okay, Fambule, many thanks. You see, we look after the platform. We get people that we care about the platform, and etc. So again, like I say, Fambule, we are on the cusp of making history again. Once more, is 60 years of independence in less than 24 hours. And we expect for you from an array of guests way day in the room. The prime one today is Mr. Chernoh Alpha M Bah of the Africanist Press. We deal with me in a studio.
All right, Fambulem, just a quick reminder. Una way to watch this na the eve of Salone in 63 years of existence, 63 years of independence. This not just reflection the tape I've been play earlier on. It's a long tape and there was much said there. Interestingly, we'll be supposed to get a star-studded guests, including Dr. Yumkela Medina, the height of a parliamentarianship. Of course, it's no longer the case. We actually get on at the back room just to wait for Brian Camon. Unfortunately, we'll not be able for Brian Camon for some reason. Of course, we discussed that, but they don't come at the back room. You know, we invite somebody, then at the back room, we just left or let you stream them on. Also, Honorable Tawa Conte, when he said being at the height of the controversy, they challenged government left, right, and center because Ina being a member of some very important parliamentary committee. Then, so the point I'm trying to make is like there was a lot said in this video at the show now. So other than we get for go through the pain of the upper talk them, you know, they try to develop the program. I just want to slide the program straight to the star guest. At the time himself, we've been at the height, the peak of in job, you know, in terms of telling Sierra Leone. I know they tell me personally, not like that name, they whistle blowing. Some people let me say, well, I'm whistle blowing. But I mean, the contribution what this man make is huge. We're not seeing kind like this in here, not in my lifetime per se. I mean, government document of the receipts for corruption. I mean, the damage was done. Now Chernoh Alpha now they talk about. So I want to fast forward the tape to the interview itself with me and Chernoh Alpha. So now bear with me. Bring back the tape and just bring Chernoh Alpha straight on the tape. Okay, instead of all the half talk. So let's go straight to Chernoh Alpha. Okay. All right, that's Chernoh Alpha there.
So many African economies, in fact, we're not going to call really a national economy in a place like Sierra Leone, in the real sense of it. There are no industries. And you know, they talk about export of raw material, just that kind of trade there. And much of what we call trade, again, they happen between African countries. So, but it's good for also look at what we call 60 years of self-rule, 60 years since colonial officials, white administrators give power to African people. What have we been able to do with our own societies? What did not happen, you know, in these 60 years? How we done? Has anything changed from the colonial legacy where we inherit, where these people inherit, and whether the indices statistics on poverty, statistics on human development, not then within basically parts of the world don't even think about them because either in America, some part of Africa, you don't even think about blackout as electricity as a challenge. You know, they were caught in this thing as something. You can just run and just midnight and just turn the tap and pipe borne water. You know, they run. So all them things are absent as Salone. They are basically dreams now, dreams. You know, to the extent that now boreholes, water wells, nine people they think about. They find the whole community. I wonder what well do. More than 200 people, 500 people in that community depend on that well. We can dry out and not even clean. And mostly they see people and they spend many hours trying to just get basic clean like water. So these are basically the serious problems we think about the state in itself as the embodiment of our aspirations, as the instrument through which we were able channel some of these aspirations and work towards the realization and resolution of them problems there. But things then just keep getting worse from one year to the next year. Like now, many of the people will talk about nostalgia, oh, good old days. So if you think about the 60s was better, then you see say the 70s get worse. People in the 70s go say the 70s better than the 80s. So like that. Now you will find out say the 90s again with all the war, you go think about say, oh, light been this side, but now increasingly the war done, they go say there is no more civil war, but still the conditions we precede the war, we even generate the war, still don't become amplified. So
Okay.
society
Well said, Chernoh. I mean, very
we
good
cannot talk of
reflection.
independence and celebration.
That's
So
something
we
we can
talk of
go on with
independence and celebration.
on and on and on and on and on. It absolutely makes sense. But I think what I derived from there is we can look at in two folds. One was a period in which people being there for self-determined. I mean, they take things into their own hands, their own destiny into their own hands. What they make of in reflection, it is show the negatives. I believe this is what it is. We haven't developed at all, because you make examples of places like China. Just 30 years ago, they were equated to a third world country, and 30 years on, they are a superpower and the world's biggest economy, although not officially yet. Mr. Bah, I want to go straight to the point. One of the things that we don't make you famous now, every living quarter in Sierra Leone and the international community, is acts where they can attribute to something in the Western world called whistleblowing. Before I move any further, I want to ask you whether you not mind when people attribute your works or which you do, and use that adjective there, if you like, whistleblower. Do you consider yourself as a whistleblower?
No, what being when say what the way that we do, we know the whistleblow, because my own understanding of whistleblowing basically is an individual. For example, you get our Honorable Ibrahim Tawa Conte on this show, from what I understand.
Yeah.
What did he do with Parliament, for example, by signaling he's part of Parliament, and you see how Parliament functions, how Parliament is operating, and not satisfied, then decide for raise questions of accountability. Basically, he ring the bell on Parliament as an integral member of Parliament, basically an eyewitness account of what is happening. It can happen in both ways. Either you speak out, or you decide for anonymously release certain transactions of an institution or an administration where ordinarily will not come out. So the idea of whistleblower is that the person will necessarily be an inward, somebody with an integral component of the arrangement and functioning of that. But what we do is basically journalism. Journalism is not whistleblowing. It is reporting. There are many components of it. The journalism media can entertain, can educate, can also inform society. Okay, my own understanding of my work is basic. It comes from this tradition where I think the media should function, or people within the media should function as part of the thinking representatives of the society. Okay, being also spokespeople of the society in which they find themselves. That's the tradition of the press. And the tradition of the press don't change now drastically in this course of the 500 years, if we just speak abruptly, because in the past, for people who study political science, who study other things, and you get writers, the John Locke, the Baron de Montesquieu, even Aristotle, okay? Also, these are basically individuals who critique society at the time, right, about what they were not comfortable with, for exposing to society. So the media get different components. Then now journalism became an integral component of that particular tradition of the press. So the press, where you expand the canvas of the press, this landscape where the press you define, say, writers are there, novelists are there, dramatists will be there. So basically, nowadays, terminologies they develop over time. People, they develop definitions, people, they develop terms and all of that. But I am basically a member of the media that I start off as a journalist, writing in newspapers. That is the tradition I've continued. Then branch out from newspapers to writing books, basically the books that again were right, they are basically now a long version of a newspaper essay. That's what it is. Now you see, I try to do a critique of the democratic arrangement na Salone, what I call Democracy, the next book coming out, Democracy Betrayed. So basically some of it deal with questions of corruption, questions of governance, dictatorships, and authoritarianism, how these three manifestations of the state entangle within itself, and they all deal with the general democratic landscape. So basically, me not a whistleblower. I am just a journalist, and I do investigations into conduct of government beyond the ordinary
the line between whistleblowing and a process of back as the days of Aristotle and spreading it wide for everybody to understand. Quite necessary, because this is part of the debate that is ongoing. A lot of the things that I want to ask you, and that you can always do, you can sort of compress them, because you can go on this lengthy, digression about issues, which I really, really do appreciate, because you make it very much more interesting. Some of the things that I want to pick up, because there's a lot said, let's see whether we can unpack some of them quickly. But Fambulem, today, the eve of Sierra Leone independence, we have none other than Mr. Chernoh Alpha M Bah, one of the editors of the Africanist Press. We don't put boku story about the current government, and then work not only start now, go beyond this government. And as far as we know, and evidence is there for speak to that, this brother has been doing this thing, calling out on government beyond the Julius Maada Bio government. So it's not like it's personal, although we will come to that shortly. But what they ask Kuna, let other people be a witness to this as well. Let them hear from Chernoh himself. Let them not be told. This is important to be a part and parcel of this very, very important conversation rather than an interview. Chernoh, you said a lot about press don't change. And I'm sure change in a different sense, because in one sense, it has evolved. Press journalism has evolved. The age of social media is here. Print media is still relevant, but less relevant, and social media is here. So it gives we all a kind of platform, and the middleman has been removed. So we can channel your own story and give me the possibility for talk to you as we do so tonight and talk with people. What's your view about journalism back home, the media houses back home, the journalists back home? What's your take on them?
Yeah, like for understand the media landscape in Salone, I believe every individual in the first place get a reason how they arrive at a particular destination. There could be personal stories, there could be historical circumstances where push the person towards that. We in this current situation, for being so brief, now that we get very good journalists, we get very good, in fact, Sierra Leone, now a country where get a rich tradition of the media, okay? The media now West Africa, because of we get the first, what we call Western institution of higher learning, and we get the first university. We also get some of the first earliest newspapers in the continent start with they, one of the earliest, and we get one of the most prominent journalists. When you look at the archives, you see the Sierra Leone news, you see the debate when they happen within the Creole community and outside of the critique against the colonial state. We can get people like Wallace Johnson, one of the most prominent trade unionist, anti-colonial agitator, and also a journalist, use the media. So the media then serve as an instrument for expose colonial injustice, colonial corruption, colonial exploitation, because we call colonial exploitation and corruption, the loot of raw materials at the time under the colonial state, and the transfer of them that wealth to Europe, to England and other destinations. So that tradition, they still continue. Now, in modern times, I would call it corruption because of young people in the Dua. Okay, but in the past, the press defined that as exploitation. That doesn't mean there were no stealing of public resources. We look at it, see the corrupt tradition again within the councils at the time, colonial administrations, but for the most part, the transfer of wealth So the press at the time, when they agitate for a number of things, the integration of Africans into the colonial administration, for say the African people never get representation inside the colonial government. Then they call for changes in certain laws. Then they also call for independence. So you can get different newspapers then. So now, so again now, and then newspapers, there's some being decided, some educated Africans, they want for the part of the colonial government, they want to get into the legislative assembly, they want to get into self-government, to get cabinet. So nowadays, again, that tradition with the absence of the colonial state, now you see the press change, who side some now pro this party, pro that other party, or you get journalists again where not agree with the system, they will tell you, say, the ministers them bad, now the president don't get problem, the people are around them. You will get people again who opposed to the entire system, but then get one or two people within the system who are their own friends, where they will defend them. You don't understand? For example, we get a case where when we write about the lack of payment of timber revenues, okay, you get private journalists, they win a private journalist, then we're supposed to be private journalists, not to people who work for government, or the government television or government newspapers or ruling party newspapers, then go defend the individual involved. They defended the individual involved in this case because this individual is their patron, is their friend. You go write about the Ministry of Youth or the Ministry of Finance. The Ministry of Finance getting young press people within the private press where perhaps then they bankroll them. So it happens. We get that. So you get this polarized, you get this various contending interests within the media. Part of it got to do with the poverty in the country. So the poverty in the country, the stimulant to some of these corrupt client and patron relationships. So many people cannot function outside of a relationship with the state. Okay, so you find out, say, if you know the government, you got to get somebody inside government for make sure, say, you're able to function. Because in general, newspapers in a Salone, most of them they print 16 pages, some 20-something pages. Okay, where you sell newspaper for the newspaper price na 2,000, but they give it to the vendors perhaps for 1,500 or 1,300. So many newspapers do not print up to 2,000 or even more, say 3,000. Some they print less than 1,000. Okay, so the cost of the sales, they even do the way you sell the newspaper, the cost of the sales, they offset the cost of printing. So which
but is that not in itself? Is that not itself a prelude to kind of bribery? And they become vulnerable.
Make I just the data they can't do some of because
okay.
If they critique the press, if they criticize the press and how the press they function, we get to also understand the conditions under which the press they operate. Then we select one or two people where under that difficulty again. Okay, 1 or 2, 3 newspapers who will single out under that difficulty. We still they try to maintain a greater level of independence because we talk about independence now as a country.
Absolutely.
So independence as a country got to do with independence of institutions, independence of the individuals within the country as well. Their ability to live and thrive without having this, free from this patron-client relations, just like a country got to depend on England, IMF, World Bank. Okay, now we're not going to talk about development as our own government. Even the president talks say they have to have a clean bill of health from the IMF to be able to function. That is dependency. They celebrate dependency as an indicator of success. Okay, so in other countries that's a laughing situation. So the same way again in trying to look at independence of the media, we got to understand the conditions and the environment under which the media they function, and the media also is suffering from the poverty in the country because for business, the media, if you get a newspaper, that newspaper just depend on the sales of the newspaper. You're not going to be able to run the newspaper because the cost of the sales will not, the return of the sales will not take up the cost of running the newspaper. So less the cost of paying the staff.
So Chernoh, just a short answer from you on this one, which is when I see you talk, there is a stress in some of the words. And looking at it from a psychological point of view, then stress notes then like when it comes to social, when it comes to justice and the context in which you use them, it seems like these things are kind of personal to you. So the question there is, where do you derive the oxygen from and why are you into this? This is not like fun. This is serious.
Outside this motivation come out and waiting they drive you. In other words, that's the oxygen that I'm talking about. Is it about the people, social justice, and etc.? What is it?
Well, generally, as an individual, I just find myself in a situation where I cannot accommodate injustice against another human being. Okay, I find my own freedom in the freedom of the general society. Okay, so the oppression against somebody else can just immediately trigger me into questioning what can I do to resolve the situation. So that's part of it. Part of it therefore do with an orientation that makes me to see. It's difficult for talk about yourself because then it means I'm not trained with the tradition of talking about yourself. And it's very difficult because then I always want my work to speak for me. But one of the reasons why I do what I do, because I have come to find out that these levels of oppression, this poverty, these, like what we were trying to talk about now, the media, how can we have a media institution or a group of, how can we have a newspaper that can stand against the injustices in society? Those injustices, and they go along with the theft of the national resources, the oppression of people. How, and history now, looking through history and seeing how people will suffer from the same kind of situations also offer sacrifices that are necessary to attempt to resolve that question. It's not like you have all the solutions, but what role can you play as an individual to create a better society, a better environment in which you want to live? For example, if you want for teaching at university now, or you want for teaching at a school, what is the salary of a teacher? So, and teachers are not even well paid. They are not regularly paid. So if you want to become a teacher, you find out, say, you definitely get you don't get choice, but if you want to remain the teacher and practice and teach, because that is what you love, you definitely get to fight for better conditions for the teacher in order for you to be able to fight. So in extension, you're also fighting for the interest of this group that you want to be part of. So what I'm saying is that your personal struggle also get for reflect the general aspiration of the country. So my motivation and the fact that it's impossible for me for just live in a situation where I see oppression, see injustice, see corruption, and I know I close my eyes.
That is it. So even the expression that you face, you know, when you say that, and that's what I was speaking to, and you've just addressed that, and many thanks for that. So you are moved by the injustices in a country or against a people, a vulnerable people. You can't stand that, and if you don't speak up, you don't just feel right. But here's the thing: in the work where you do, Mr. Bah, you've done great damage. Okay, and the evidence is there. We can point to data and statistics and reaction, because there's a reactionary element as per some of the things the way you don't do. A government is, or officials of government now feel threatened by your works. I know some people may want to deny that, but the evidence is there again. The circumstances are there. The reactions are there by these officials to whom or for whom you've exposed certain things into the people then. And your publications, now they talk about generally, you are equally threatened, and these are some of the evidence then by the same people whom you've written against, you know, with things them way supposedly for the evidence, although they deny that's been. My question to you, Mr. Bah, on this basis is one, do you feel threatened? Because I know say threats go to you. You've spoken about that. Some of the officials have sent you personal threats. And I think you said you've recorded those threats and they are on standby for whatever thing you decide to do. That's one. Do you feel threatened by these officials? I mean, basically, is there a component of fear in you now as per this mighty task way you don't undertake? And if you can tell me this, again, the next question what I want to jump to quickly. And if you can just summarize and quickly the issue about fear.
I know they lost sleep over the work that I do. I always try for make sure that I don't accuse anyone falsely. I have never, I tell you now, I have those individuals who know me, they can say this to you or anyone who has worked with me closely or from distance. I have never in my life used a pen name, a pseudonym. This is 21 years of writing. I know they ever write anything, I put somebody in name day. Never. I know they ever do. And why is part of a principle for make sure I hold myself accountable to anything that I write today, tomorrow, and not only that. I write because I want to also document my own ideas and me thinking. I train as a historian. Okay, I train as a historian. I believe in history. Believe say your work should outlive you, and I also do not want my kid or kids to grow up and begin to think about the kind of man I was, what constitutes my thinking, how I saw the world, and what I try to do to change. So I basically, that's one of the things we make at the right, for make sure I document what I do. So nobody will say not this, not that. So I have never used, why I say I've never used a pseudonym, because I stand by anything that I write, and I make sure.
So on that basis, you
you
stand by everything that you write. Can you tell Fambulem what kind of precaution or method and way you can use for ensure that the information where you put out there about people are right? Tell Fambulem for me, please.
It has to be, there are multiple layers to it, but one of it is that it has to be solid proof. And I receive all kinds of information. I work with all kinds of people. People who have worked with me also go tell you, say, I'll give you one example. This is very recent. Towards December, someone floated somebody already within my circle, within even how I operate, just decided from the blues for contact me and decided to give me information that appeared to be very serious. I don't say this, but I want to say, I will just tell you how I take care. Okay. And I decided to investigate that information to find out whether the information is supposedly correct. And at the surface of it, it looked very appealing, because it's very scandalous. And then I spend time and investigate not the information first, the individual that gives me the information, because that individual is not part of, it's a new individual that just popped up. So I investigate the individual, investigate who that individual is, and the individual appear to be unconnected to establishment. So you know, go suspect answer. But then I came to find out there was a seriously highly placed individual in government, in this current government, that gave that individual what appeared to be evidence that was false. So this individual, now that I'm saying, maybe if you person to listen, you go decide for. But anyway, I investigated and I knew even how much this individual has been paid to give me what appears to be evidence that was false, which will have forced me to publish if I was just publishing without verification or investigation of the. Okay. I investigate evidence. We investigate evidence.
Absolutely.
Okay. And not only me, I work with a team of people who are experts, things that we don't understand. For example, when we got this evidence of leadway trading, when we own research got into that, and we see, say, from custom record, leadway exported over 2 million metric tons of timber, and this, by shortchanging the government of Sierra Leone, they had deprived the country of over $5 billion in dollars. We were shocked. We said, no, this cannot be true. We debated that for 3 weeks among ourselves. So in the final, we wrote the article, the first article where we write. On 20 minutes to publication, I had to change both the headline and the content. Okay, because I look at the 5 billion at the time and look at the financial reports of the country. I said, no, there must be some, so we put them aside. We had to send that information to some of our colleagues who are also financial experts with customs and in Canada and other places for help we verify this. So the first article we published, we just talked about the amount of revenue that we are collected that we are not banked, not the money that they have deprived the country. So that when the publication go out, then a week later, we can verify again. We therefore check the custom records from Sierra Leone and the destination points, outside the shipment and go and all that. Then we calculate again, comparing data and quality. Then we can say, okay, in potential revenues, this figure is absolutely correct. That's when we put it out now.
Okay.
So basically, there are also the methods, triangulation. For example, if you say so person don't take so money, We go to bank statistics, we go to invoices, all these publications will be published. So if we say, for example, government don't give this person, if we say somebody don't go withdraw, government don't allocate to the first lady X amount of money, before then they wire the money, there has to be correspondences from this office to that office, that office. So we just don't just look at the bank statement.
Follow the money trail.
Yeah, we look at the corresponding papers leading to the transaction. The correspondences will lead to the actual action before you look at, because the bank statement is basically the result of the bureaucratic operation. Now the end product of correspondence is then translate that the end product of the action, or the final product of the action. Why it's important? Because somebody can write a letter for withdraw money, then at the end they don't withdraw. But then when you see the documents that talk about, oh, we don't allocate, this person needs also money, then the Minister of Finance writes in response to gives also money, we got to see if the money has been moved. Okay. So all those
Chernoh, just 30 seconds. Why do you think up to this moment in time, with all the documents there, these questions that I'm asking quite relevant, and they are for specific reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think up to this time, all the documents there where you don't produce, where by many means necessary, look very, very authentic? Other than that, they will have been challenged a long time ago by very powerful people that you're going up and against. Why do you think some people still they call these documents irrelevant or fake and etc.? What you ever had a second guess why?
No, I know why. Because the point here is that, I mean, you can catch somebody in the act of doing something, they will definitely find a way to deny, or then just keep quiet, or they shy, they just retreat.
Okay.
But this is the thing: the people who are denying the evidence are not government officials. These are basically
absolutely.
supporters of the government who want to explain for government. But they can no longer explain because the evidence, so they will not start by denying, and they cannot shift from that because they don't want to concede. The fact of the matter is, it deals with the partisan interest, okay? And it comes to family values, okay? We have people in our families, for example, where they can go joke to them, because if you do bad, they will tell you there and then. But you get other people then, this deals with uncles, it deals with parents, it deals with even among siblings. There are brothers that you have who will look at you and say, hey, that ain't take nonsense. So if you do anything, he will tell you how it is. There are other family people who will just, play there. So it's a human nature. But the fact of the matter is that the evidence speaks for itself. Okay, for me,
it does speak for itself.
I'm amused. I can laugh at the way they deny. Because when they deny, I present more.
Another 30 seconds for you quickly. I want to go to something even more serious, for step up the game in the interview. And 30 seconds more, Mr. Bah. You seem for the right now the center of a storm. And that's an apt description, the center of a storm. We recently see the proposal for a cyber law bill, a proposal for a cyber law. And that cyber law proposal, it looks center because cyber law is a multifaceted thing where a country can introduce and put into law because they feel threatened by many, many things, whether now credit card fraud and many other frauds, but all of them one and they're not prevalent na Salone. One of the key things and where you can see inside the poorly drafted cyber law is one way regarding data, communication, media, and etc. Give you overview about the cyber law. What's your take? Is it attributed to people like you, obviously, in the media? What in your general view, Mr. Bah?
No, we got to understand the nature of the state in itself, how the state they behave. And for the most part, when you get rogue politicians in power, they definitely will invent tools of repression for try to always hold people them back from interrogating how governments function. And this is also not new. And the techniques of control, the techniques of repression can change, but repression goes along with governance. The state in itself, by nature, is violent. Governments are violent entities. That's why they have an army. That's why they have police. That's why they have jails. That's why they have courts. That's why they have a fire service. They can also choose for use these instruments of coercion and repression in the general good of the people, for protect the people. But for the most part, they do these things because they want to. For example, before I come to cyber, for just as you say, you don't have to expect anything different than what we've been presented. A few days ago, we see these riot, what appears to be like incidents of violence all over the place. Police, they beat women, random violence that you don't seem to understand what is happening, like chaos. There's this chaos in the midst of our effort to expose government. And I sat back and looked at it, from being familiar with rogue regimes and their behavior all over in different parts of the world that I have interacted with people that I talk to. I posted that I hope these incidents of violence are not state engineered to create the semblance of some kind of a disorder. We will allow them to use police emergency, either than declare curfew or state of emergency. Also put police presence all over the city. So what did we saw? We saw yesterday 2 or 3 incidents that people don't seem to put into context. Excuse me, this is a departure, but I think it's very important for me to use this opportunity for address, and then it brings
absolutely. That's why we ask you this question
of legislation.
Very important, because you have to forget.
Now we saw presidential guards deliberately filming themselves.
I was going to ask you that.
Yeah, threatening violence against political opponents of the government. Not only violent, threatening to kill people if they try to resist against government. Okay, then we saw the police also, the Inspector General of Police giving marching orders to the armed wing of the police, not just regular police, but armed wing of the police, the paramilitary wing of the police, for someone to go out and restore order. So basically, and then along with it, somebody floated what appeared to be an audio inciting violence, and this person is anonymous. So when you take them 3 developments here in one day, I will imagine, I will be forced to think. The first thing is that, the government, if this government really concerned about these incidents of violence, whether bike riot they happen and all of that, they will not be having a party at the stadium, okay? Because when general chaos they happen in a country, what governments do, they try to maintain peace. They will be worried. But when you see bike riders in their hundreds attack a TV station, storm a TV station in front of a TV station, then go to police stations, storm police stations, storm transportation agencies, then they react to a state operation, you go deliberately say this is animated by the state, okay? Because the government not concerned about it. They were not worried because this is not independent. If they were worried, the cabinet, senior members of the government, the chief minister in the cabinet, and then some of the MPs were in the stadium having a soccer fun competition when on the side of it, these incidents of violence, they happen. Okay, that tells you the government will say it's not going anywhere because they control it. And each of these seeming protests will happen. Nobody, no shop was looted. Really significant property damage. Even the police stations we talk about, apart from that accident that happened, which claimed the life of this independent bike rider. We're not a part of these bike riders anymore. You don't. So what I'm saying is that we get for we get to understand, say, governments that can machinate the semblance of chaos in a country, especially when people do not begin to interrogate and ask hard questions. Because now, if they are concerned, they knew they were inviting guests into the country. Yeah. And they knew that they have to put fear into the minds of people. So people will be more concerned about their security than for even ask how much is government spending to host these massive celebration, this massive entertainment celebration. Entertainment, they are entertaining themselves and their guests, which is similar to what the First Lady did. Okay, the First Lady took money from our national treasury, invited guests, have colleague First Ladies to come to Sierra Leone. She's attested to that. Now the president, 3 years down, is repeating the same thing that his wife did. Okay, he's inviting international his colleague presidents to come to Sierra Leone to have a feast, to have an entertainment, along with him, dinners, and all of these things. And the budget goes beyond 30 billion. Okay, so So they will be hosting this and spending this money when a few days ago they were not even paying nurses, they were not paying cleaners, they were not paying doctors. But now we cannot have that conversation because there's threat, there's seeming threat to security. They don't make somebody. So you can imagine that one of these security people guarding the president or somebody from the state will be creating this audio, anonymous audio, and sending it out so that they can justify this massive police presence all over the place. Okay, to create the same. So people will be worried about their safety. They cannot even send their kids to school. Then we'll say, hey, this is not to affect the council. When there is really, if the state is that concerned, they will not be having these celebrations. So this tells you the governments operate differently. Rogue regimes, rogue politicians, corrupt politicians behave differently. The techniques of governance involve state violence. We therefore able to look at violence and know when citizens actually they protest and when governments engineer protest, or when government action engineer protest for making them able further contain populations. Governments do this all over the world. So we therefore try for also, along with, I think key thing we therefore try for do, we therefore try for educate with people and politically, for me, politically in the sense that they don't just have to think about elections, they don't just have to think about voting one party in and one party out, they have to think about how to understand the state, how to understand government, the character of governance, the nature and behavior of government.
I was going to ask you that exactly, but
this cyber bill,
we go still come to that because I got one critical side where I want that, but the way you lay the case, I mean, this is beyond most people in comprehension. Because this is kind of, and not really rocket science or sophisticated, but people not tend for the see that kind of way. They waiting at the signs, wait for look for if something of that nature is real or it's just being a state sort of and just in a time when they invite big guests there for come and look at the way how you lay them again. Just weeks ago or months ago, there was no money for pay frontline health workers. We saw chaos, we saw all of this, and yet people they troop into town for celebrations. But I hope the people that they watch and they catch up, and you make a very good point. Let's see, let me bring in one or two people and then we get quick reflections so they not feel bored in the waiting room, if you will, sir. Mike, you want to make any contribution to this program quickly, a reflection? Brother Mike? Okay, Brother Mamadou? You want to make any reflections so far? Okay, Fambulem. I don't think say any of them guests they are ready for making a contribution. Change their minds later. But just a reminder, today na the eve of Sierra Leone's 60-year anniversary. 60 years ago, the country get independence. 60 years on, we are talking about how far we've come, who's can gain the we don't make, or whether we don't make gains at all, or the gains they will make, whether we are losing them. But today at the 26th of April, 2021, and we start guessing at the studio, none other but Mr. Chernoh Alpha M Bah of the Africanist Press. Now, in the talk this evening, we expect a statement, a short reflection from Dr. Kande Yunkela. Dr. Kande, we hear from you. There are no questions, sir. We just want a reflection on the platform. And Honorable Tawa Conte, I know they signed on earlier on, but probably they're not this for talking. Maybe they might talk later. And it's just a 5 minutes, and then you can take your leave. But we will appreciate that, and I'm sure Fambul and Seth will appreciate that if we can get Una for in on this conversation, just 5 minutes of reflection. Nothing too political, just reflection on the then and now and the way forward. Ladies and gentlemen, like I say again, this is not the then and now platform. The host Prince Emil Kroma, they come to Una on the eve of Sierra Leone's 60 years anniversary. And we ask Una for continue for shape. We know say the numbers are increasing, but we expect more. 333 in the room. If we just do probably 3 times, maybe we'll attain we objective when 1,000 people are one for view, and we'll get Chernoh M Bah, and hopefully we'll attain that objective. Mr. Bah, that was the cyber law, and cyber law crime seem for generally focus on
on the media data collection like we talk. I want to move on to the midterm census. There's always something, and you make a case, the last point where you make on reflect. Sometimes government just set up these kind of things, and things that involve it's not only to Sierra Leone or in Sierra Leone, but all over the world. So they set up a case. The argument now, or the left way they argue. So the argument here is, we all know, say, or most people know, say, presidents get a right as per the Constitution for declare or make a proclamation on this census business, as per the Constitution. But there are processes and procedures to follow, not because a pronouncement, then that's the end of it. And if those processes and procedures, as we are made to understand, are not followed, especially 28 days or so after the proclamation is not gazetted, that proclamation becomes null and void. I believe it will have to be done again. But can you weigh in on this debate about this midterm census? What is this midterm census all about? In your view, is it necessary at this time? What impossibly can they, because you're a man of high reasoning and you tend for the look beyond the ordinary spectrum?
Well, the census, of course, people who don't argue for the census and argue against the census already state the underlying motives behind just the counting of people and just for know the population size in the country. If you ask Statistics Sierra Leone, those who work there, they think they should do a census because that's why that gives them the opportunity for work. Okay, for do their own, go around, but all of our censuses are a political tool. One of the civil society people who has been to some extent linked, whose work has been by people's estimation linked with government. I think I had Andrew Lavalley, for example, I will call his name, in argue say the previous census by 2015 was developed statistics that were not reflective of the population dynamics of the country or the population size of the country, and that in your own view was done deliberately by the previous government for increased representation by multiplying number of constituencies and population at the north and all of that. But this is the thing: there is no census that is going to if we take that as the basis of an argument, there is no guarantee that this current census is going to produce any figure that will be also reflective of the entire population dynamics. It's going to be contested because it's going to miss people. It's going to miss places. The country not even that infrastructurally developed for make we able to map out the entire size of the population. Even in Freetown, where you can travel around places to places, streets to street. Now the congestion set now Freetown now. The informal settlements, the way don't grow, we don't develop in mountains and inaccessible areas. Census people will not go there. So if that is the basis of the argument for the new census, it is basically not valid. Okay. Now there is this general impression that the census get to do with the government, the current ruling party's determination for multiply equally. If then they charge the other people of having used the census for multiplying the representation of parliament, they also want to equalize the same thing. That's the argument from SLPP people. I don't even read a newspaper report which says people are fearing that they want to create 2 more districts and is it 17 more constituencies in the SLPP heartlands. Okay, that could be a plausible argument. Why would somebody want to think that? Because we see how this current party in power attack parliament with police and decide for impose first a speaker of parliament. We're not supposed for the parliament in the first place. Deliberately stole parliamentary majority, hijacked the parliamentary leadership through the use of the police, and then use the judiciary for also take parliamentary majority. Now, you remove parliamentarians, 10 of them, and then decide, say, the second person when I run up, when are members of your party, you give them parliamentary majority through the court. Use the executive power for take parliamentary leadership, use the judicial authorities for also steal members, steal seats, representation of parliament from elected members. And in another area where they knew the second runner-up was not an SLPP candidate, they organized a re-election. then try severally both sides the neighborhood. You see, 110. That's what we had. So what it makes sense now for say they cannot repeat this action in the next parliament. If we go to elections in 2023, or the next elections, even if the current party, based on the way the electoral map is currently structured, even if the SLPP succeed for winning the presidency, they will not win parliament as well. Parliamentary majority, they cannot repeat the same Abbas Bundu kind of situation twice. You don't understand? So it will make sense to have a census that will produce perhaps, which there is no guarantee that there's going to be more population in the Southeast that will generate more constituencies in the Southeast. So this is where the political argument gets in, because the politicians are the ones who advanced the need for a census. Okay, while it's the right of the president for declare a census, call for a census, but he did not even go around it the right way. He may not even talk about the procedures, the processes where if don't go through the legality, because this government has shown that it's not committed to following the rules in any aspect of their conduct. From the way they took over the parliamentary speaker position, the way they took over parliamentary majority, okay, the way they've gone through their appointments of people, the removal of people from offices, from the way they are even running the finances of the country, is in complete violation of the laws of the country, finance laws, regulations, all kinds of things. So they are not, it is in the DNA of this government. It has been operating disregarding the constitution, disregarding the secondary legislations that support the constitution itself, or that are derived from the constitution. So debating the legality and illegality of the current government, the president, and in proclamations and in actions would be a waste of time, because they are not committed to that. They are not committed to following the rules from the get-go. From the day they took parliament, from the day where the president ordered police for going to parliament and remove and force a vote on parliament, on parliamentary leadership. That's a crisis. So they have undermined the sovereignty of parliament from the beginning. That's why the parliament is unable to function. Chaos. All we don't see in a parliament is also drama. If not to that, civil society people that tend to support the government will accuse parliament of corruption, but they cannot accuse the executive branch of corruption. They cannot speak on the corruption of the first lady, but it's comfortable for them to speak against parliament, because then they try to undermine this current parliament, because from the very beginning, then they are not comfortable with the composition of the current parliament. So we have to even understand how this government has worked against parliamentary processes. So we will not be surprised with the current drama in a parliament, because it comes back to the violation of due process. So the question then is, how will citizens understand this?
So we go that Chernoh. I want to let you hold your thought today, because in the end, this boils down to how citizens get to react, or how they have to be primed, if the reality that we're in. So let me just say that briefly, we can, sir. Sister Fatma, mute your microphone, please. Sister Fatma, please mute your microphone. Hello. All right. I'm not even thinking here. So, Fatma, when you join the platform, you have to be prepared. You have to be prepared. Sorry about that, Mr. Bah. So what I want to say, Mr. Abewano, I know say you touch on police brutality a little bit, because the thing they're so intertwined with each other that when you act one definitely they overplay the other, or there's a subtleness of inside one particular question. But specifically police brutality, I mean, it's not something new. It's not something alien to a culture and it's from government to government, but we've seen as violence, like not witnessed, like every other day there is something, or the police will be caught brutalizing a citizen. And I don't know whether it's systemic. I don't know whether it's orchestrated, like part of the actions then, like one of them where you mentioned earlier on. But what's a general view again about police brutality in the state? Well,
the police violence or brutality, they happen in isolation of the general climate of repression, where we don't witness that the country since the Bureau administration take office like how I say, you just have to look at how the parliamentary leadership was taken, and that now the sanctioning of state violence, So what do we see in the form of police brutalizing people, beating women, and all this violence against people? Now the result of state, now a manifestation of the general violence where the state not orchestrate. You look at the violence at Ademba Road, you look at, so there has been a heightened level of violence across the country because the climate of repression don't intensify. In the past, for example, in 20 years, we made a report for newspapers and write in the newspapers, I will tell you, say, I have experienced a more intense insult from state officials than I ever did. Okay, insults and threat to me on life.
Chernoh, what he really why has it stepped up to this level?
Because the point is that Madabio never went to State House with a clearly defined overwhelming majority in both rounds of the election. This was a very unpopular candidate, both within the party. Okay, understand that the circumstances forced which result into Madabio becoming the presidential candidate of the party was the result of internal party crisis, violence at the SLPP, to the extent that he was imposed deliberately on the party, because the party's constitutional arrangement was, if you don't contest one time and you lose, you cannot recontest. But the Madabio's supporters within the party, largely in the executive, decide for arm twist the party and wage war within the party to the point that they hijacked the platform of the SLPP and drove out, then crowd out everybody when I suppose for think within the party. So you have a militant group within the SLPP that rode to power with a tiny majority based on also the nature of politics where Ernest Koroma introduced within the APC, one levels of the party conflict at the SLP, the imposition of candidates at the APC. So the state was unpopular. Ernest Koroma's government after 10 years everybody was dissatisfied with it. So the mass national anger and dissatisfaction with the Koroma, with the couple, the fact that there was no significant alternative, this Madabio then became by default the benefactor of that tiny majority. So when you come to power with a tiny majority like that, the best way for one government would be through concessionary approach. Okay, and because they don't understand democracy as a work in progress, as something where you go negotiate, understanding power as a negotiated approach to power. So they decided that the same method that they used to hijack the SLPP platform for making kind of power, they can use that at the state level. And the difference here at the state level is that there are many people, some who are even independent, who will not allow that to happen, because if you allow that to happen, it means the stability of the country and the progress and peace of people will be at stake. So people are going to see it and they are going to expose it. So that is why all of us then became interested in intervening and exposing the facade of the regime, both in its so-called commitment to corruption as a veil to just clamp down on people that they are not actually really committed to fighting corruption, because they are actually engaged in mass-scale corruption that we have not seen, innovative methods.
So, Chernoh, quickly,
so that lead to the violence. That lead to the violence because they cannot.
Equivalent to like state capture.
Well, it's just the nature of not of state capture, because the state hasn't captured. They don't get the capacity for capture because they cannot capture. Basically, they want to govern through fear, through psychological terror. That's the thing. That is through violence, and the violence now will make people by nature not want this argument back and forth. So they can insult you into silence, they can threaten you to silence, they can intimidate you into silence. So if they cannot, they can also arrest you and incriminate you and try and put you in a jail, like you have the Cameroon in prison. You had.
All right, family. Once again, just a quick reminder: this is the independent. In a matter of hours, the country is going to be officially 63 years old. There are serious reflective questions as to how far we've come, whether we've gained anything. We talk about within the political, socio, and economic structure, where the country is now, and of course that will determine where we go. On this eve of the 63rd anniversary, waiting basically we do the TNN podcast. Now for reflect, reflection is a very good virtue. I'm sure a lot of people will agree with this. And this is what we are doing. 3 years ago, we will get will be host Chernoh Alpha M Bah of the Africanist Press. Along with him, being supposed to be other heavyweights now with political Sakanda Yunkela will be getting backstage. Of course, they don't access the studio. They backstage just for let we be and come in because there was an understanding. They've been supposed for weigh in within 5-10 minutes. Honorable Tawakonte, interviewing at the time. Remember, at the time that we talk about 3 years ago, the rancor, the political rancor, the mental gymnastics between all sides, it been really, really kind of telling and very interesting. Anyway, we've been getting backstage, but for some reason, we decided not to really at all at us. But however, we've been getting the star man of the moment, Chernoh Alpha M Bah, who I'm going to listen to coming towards the end of the very important and historical. Mr. Father, listening to the eternal nature of the rise up. Why I say so is because listening on reflection, waiting the brother being to say, he was so absolutely right. He was so absolutely right. I knew he was right then. But as time goes on with many things in the past, we can tend for be critical, which is a good thing to do, and you begin for disagree with many, many other things that was said then. But not in this case. In this case, the brother was so spot on. This is political science, political analysis of a 12-dimensional kind, if you like, because except you belong and you are a benefactor of the rotten system, if you're not, and you're a true patriotic citizen of the land, you definitely will have to agree that what he's saying is a proper analysis, thorough analysis. Let me continue for listening to Chernoh Bah while we come to the end, but and not forget, greetings to all Sierra Leoneans. This is not the TNN TV Media Empire. Chernoh Bah once more.
Not of we guess them, all we expect we guess them for do, now for offer a perspective, reflect on 60 years of independence. Again, now the studio with us here tonight is none other but the Africanist president, Mr. Chernoh Alpha Bah. We don't read
$500 maximum, and that might include your payment for hotel. These governments, even their appointees, their political appointees, we have published letters in which we saw they will say DSA UN rate plus 45%. Okay, they give UN rate plus 45% for a country with a broken economy as ours. Is a donor-subservient economy. Not only that, a heavily indebted country where get huge burden of debt, where they increase and multiply by the year. Okay, we have a situation where public officials, mostly political appointees, when they travel, they enjoy DSA, daily subsistence allowance, at a UN rate plus 45%. So now the president, because they say this thing is legal, if you're traveling, you get access to it. So he takes hundreds of thousands of dollars in the name of he is entitled to interest. So what we noticed in our investigation is that there is a consistent pattern of using international travel and the payroll as tools for divert public money in the name of legality to the private possession, I don't say even private accounts, to the private possession of public officials. And the president is number one in the use of this operation. He's in the lead in this operation. For every trip that he has taken and that he goes along with his wife, and both of them stay in the same hotel, he has not taken less than $50,000 for every trip. And when his wife goes along with him, the wife also takes from the same travel account, which is supposed to be the presidential travel account, half of the amount taken by the president. For example, if the president take $60,000, the wife will take $35,000. If the president take $50,000, the wife will take $25,000. This is different from the money that has been allocated to the wife in her own account. This, we are talking about the presidential local and overseas travel account. There is an account that is set up in the central bank, which every president uses. That account is funded, is used to fund the travel activities of the president, both within the country and outside of the country. Basically, this is the account that they should use to buy tickets and also for his travel interest. Now, the president, we pray, for example, he went to Japan, he withdraw $270,000. He went to Lebanon and withdrew on one transaction, $410,000 cash. This is after the expenditure on tickets. These are the pocket money. So in that trip, the president had $91,000 as his own personal interest. The wife has $37,000, more than $37,000. So both of them, in between them, they get over $120,000. And they are all going to spend the night in the same hotel room. And this trip is 5 days. And interestingly about, for example, Japan, the president's protocol arrangement has been made by the host government. So and the rule is, if you take $10,000 as interest, you go abroad. When you come back, you should retire the remaining balance. For example, if you spend $8,000, you come back, you for return the $2,000 to the bank. So when you look at the record of the president, this current president from 2008, for example, in the Lebanon case, they took out over $1 million, supposedly paid for aircraft, supposedly, but in cash alone, nearly $500,000. When they came back, they returned $12,000. And 5 days later, they will send someone else to take from the account $200 million, which is $20,000. So both the $12,000 that was returned plus $8,000 was, so like you pretend they don't return the money, they go take more than what you don't return. So there is this consistent, some of these also is cash. For example, after this program, we're going to release, we just spent the last, me and my colleagues spent the last, since this morning to aggregate amount of cash withdrawals by the First Lady alone, not from the Impresto. This is basically money that was given to the central bank account of the First Lady that has been, we don't take cash, because so far we only published details regarding 2018. We will not publish 2019, 2020. So today we just said, what can we do? We let us release details of the cash withdrawn from the First Lady's account, private account, personal account in the Bank of Sierra Leone for 2018, 2019. What we found, we aggregate number of First Lady young withdrawal is close to 10 billion, 9 billion, some hundreds. Okay, that is, if you check, that is about $1 million in cash withdrawals, taking cash. This is not money supposedly used for furniture, used for all of this. And they will tell you this, perhaps, if you say this is interest, okay, how can you use interest in that fashion? Then there are no records to show where this money went to, what you did with it, no records of reasons for withdrawal. You cannot withdraw some in 200 million. As we finish this program, we're going to publish that without even writing. We just put in because now you find out that when sometimes you write these analyses, we are drawing our own. Sometimes we put this thing out, say, let's put the data out and see what people. So when people come to the Facebook and begin to comment, and so we aggregate to see how people understand these numbers and figures. So to answer you, basically, we have noticed that this government invent what we call innovative mechanisms to steal public money without being noticed. And one way they do it is by international travel. The other method is by frequent and massive cash withdrawals, which nobody can trace. Okay? we still investigating where some of this cash is. Some of it is out, some of it is within. And interestingly, anyway,
well, I mean, we're interested in that. Why did you decide for shy
no,
away? And
no,
I suppose,
the
and I want to ask
point
you
is that because
will we ever know who started money there later on? Who started
when you withdraw,
Exactly.
because for example, when you travel with $200,000 to Japan, $207,000 or $100,000 to Japan, then you track presidential expenditure in that trip, and you find out almost everything has been catered, and you spend just 3 days, and then you return. There is no record of retirement of these remaining balance of these funds. Then the question is, did you leave the funds in Japan, or have you brought the funds back? Where are they? Are they in your house in the bunker? Do you have a safe where you keep this money in your house? So these questions are what we are getting to, basically, as we go along. But so when we throw this information out, we're basically trying to see whether people by themselves will be able to see what we've already seen, and we keep showing it bit by bit. For example, how you go explain 1 million cash withdrawals from a government account run by the Office of Funds? By the way, the account in itself is illegal, but you have this illegal withdrawal back, illegal removal of the money that is not conform with the rules. So when you withdraw cash, you cannot trace it. As opposed to now, money paid to AA Enterprises as furniture. In future, somebody can say, let's bring AA Enterprises to ask them, how much furniture did you sell to these people? Where's the evidence? Where's the furniture? And then you can all go further for probe AA Enterprises, then transactions from their own accounts, or see where they wired money to.
So when you say that, Chernoh, are you implying that in the future, after they will have left power, that there's a possibility of some kind of inquiry into how these monies were spent? Is that what you're implying?
Well, the government itself talks it and they investigate. I mean, the Anti-Corruption Commission did promise people of an investigation. Then in the middle of in the process, the president came out and said the wife is not guilty. So basically, that is an unwillingness for probe into some of these financial, misconduct and crimes as they are. This unexplained use of public finances, for a lack of a better word. So somebody will have to demand to know exactly how much money has been withdrawn from the central bank.
The SEC boss say he will investigate the office of the first ladies under pressure, supposedly from the Africanist press, then publications.
Yes. But now the president and the Minister of Finance don't already say. The Minister of Finance issued a statement in which they did not deny this transaction. They said it's normal. In fact, they claimed, say, now 1% that the money given, they have the right to allocate money to the First Lady under a prerogative that does not preclude them from giving 1% to, non-budgeted, we can call it an off-budgetary expenditure. But even at that, if that is the case, they are required by law to present the expenditure to Parliament for approval. And parliamentarians did not know about this until we brought it out.
Because absolutely, 2 weeks. Because I think I get a conversation on a platform ago recently when it's guy for quote the law, and I was saying exactly what you're saying, because somewhere I'd read it or I'd listened somewhere in which you need, yes, entitlement, but parliamentary approval, or Parliament need to know, I think, in 2 weeks.
Yes. Not only that, Parliament not even know, Parliament not approve of them. Then not only that again, the 1% they are claiming, the money they allocated is more than even money is allocated to other ministries. And we intend for sure that a couple of days from now, we're going to publish a comprehensive analysis of allocations that will include allocations received by the First Lady, allocations received by, for example, Ministry of Gender and Social Welfare, ministry in several ministries. So people will see whether the First Lady's expenditure, allocations are actually less than other ministries. But how can you explain a situation where the First Lady has more money than the Ministry of Information, or the Ministry of or the Ministry of Foreign Affairs?
Yeah.
Obviously, we fast spent into this program, but we still get almost 400 people still tuning for tell you how much interest people get in your works and waiting you actually get for say, because you're a prime guest. So maybe we can attest to the other question there in short burst, but feel free for digress if you want to. Recently, you published something, and I believe it was just a snapshot of the First Lady, where you say something like, I think I just saw it in passing. So, because there is plenty of fake news now and you get for pay attention, so I might ask you this straightforward, in which the First Lady of Sierra Leone, Mrs. Fatima Jabibio, is the First Lady where in foundation the benefit from the coffers of government. If that was your take out there, will you please explain for Fambul and let we understand, including myself, because I'm a bit lost. What's wrong with that?
I think we don't put out a massive ton of information that some of the details get lost in the process, which is why you notice for 3 weeks now we have not even published anything. Yesterday, I think was Sunday. For 3 Sundays now, we haven't released new information because we want to try to see how the volume hold on release sink in. Yes, apart from these illegal allocation that we talk about, where the office of the First Lady or the wife of the president has no right to receive public money, we also noticed that there's an account run by the Mada and Fatima Bio Foundation, held by the Guarantee Trust Bank. Okay, we don't even publish the details of that account, the account number and all of that, and highlight how this account, the First Lady even wrote letters asking for support for the Hands of Our Girls campaign, especially the launching of the free sanitary pads campaign, where she was asking businesses and institutions of government as well for donate money into supporting the Hands of Our Girls campaign. And then,
is there anything wrong with that asking, Mr. Bah?
No, we are not talking about well, that is the thing. If you have a foundation of that nature, you are allowed to raise money, but also any money raised in the name of Sierra Leone or Sierra Leoneans.
Okay, that's the technical difference.
Okay, yeah, that's the technical difference. But here is the case. This money was raised in the name of the Hands of Our Girls campaign. There are already 2 government accounts set up for the First Lady, one in the Central Bank, the Bank of Sierra Leone, and one at the second one at the local commercial bank. So you will expect that if these monies are paid, donated by any business organization, say for example, AfriCell, Mercury International, or all of these other businesses that are parading around with the First Lady, they give money, that money should be paid to the local commercial bank or the government account set up for that purpose. But in this case, suppose donors, we are directed to pay the money to the account of the president and the wife, the Mada and Fatima Bio Foundation. And we also publish letters showing examples of people who paid 50 million, some 100 million to this account. And that account holds more money than the money we're talking about in the central bank. And then we have tracked the transactions in that account. We have not published the bank statements of that, which we intend to do as we go along. Also, there is no evidence that the money received in the Guaranteed Trust Bank, and this is as far as last week, there is no evidence that that money was transferred to the First Lady's account set up by government, either the local commercial bank or the Bank of Sierra Leone. So which means that the money went to the private use of the foundation.
Okay, Chernoh. There was also another issue about the First Lady's bank account, I think with the National Bank of Sierra Leone. So something about accounts
that are different. By the way, we are talking about 3 accounts here.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm getting lost in terms of accounts, like private Fatima and Mada Bio Foundation account and Bank of Sierra Leone account.
We have listed, we have so far at minimum identified 4 accounts associated with the operations of the First Lady. One only now we don't publish on so far. Details of one now we don't release. And that one is the one held by the Bank of Sierra Leone. Okay, that account was set up in June 2018, with the first check was 2.98 billion leons under opening with the first allocation. That, by the way, was more than the money received by the Social Welfare Ministry in 2018, and more than the amount of money that was allocated to the Minister of Information in 2018. I can to go about their daily business. Now the entire central streets of Freetown, you know, what you call cordoned, you know, encircled. Nobody is allowed to use them tomorrow because we have foreign guests. They don't want these foreign guests to see the reality of the people. They don't even want, they want to present a calm environment, an orderly society, a very benevolent regime. Okay. And yes, in the midst of poverty, in the midst of suffering people who are not paid salaries. And we are also looking at the expenditure associated with this. And we hope that we will be able to present the evidence of how much has been misused by the government in this entertainment.
Yeah, so there's a treasure trove, and people should expect.
So
we round up now. Mr. Bah has done exceptionally well, you know, here within time.
So we are not doing any harm to them. I think they are doing more harm. One will expect that if not listening government or leaders who are considerate, they will definitely calculate how the discussion is now collectively changing with people's input, because not to we no more. African Express don't do this. There are multiple of voices across the spectrum, including within the opposition coalition. The opposition that is now coalition is trying to do with the involvement of this kind of conversation that you're having here, including me, including all different actors, other kinds of platforms where people are having this conversation, independent actors on their own, leading the people to think and get conversation around waiting, how for whole government accountable. Don't help we for build some kind of contending narrative around questions of governance, questions of accountability, transparency, to the point that now, from what I believe and what I know, international actors themselves will have to consider people's voices in their engagement with local politicians. So, and diplomats operate differently. Their interest will be there, but also their interest can only be guaranteed if the government of the day has the popular will of the people. And by increasing development happening now, every individual has a concern, has to be concerned. Now, what to make the MCC thing, I think, very interesting for people to understand. This government, they canceled the mining agreement of an American company.
Mining.
Yeah, we published a guest article recently in which somebody was talking about how that decision is a hindrance, perhaps, to Western investment, to foreign direct investment to Sierra Leone, including US investment to Sierra Leone. And MCC, by encouraging a climate of good governance and transparency, they are also providing a good terrain for make any US investment able to thrive in Sierra Leone, free of the bribery, the environment of bribery and corruption. So if that case alone can be used as an example, there is every reason why foreign direct, what you call foreign direct investment, therefore approach or therefore be very difficult for attractors for this government. And apart from this fanfare that's happening now, really we have not had any individual of stature that has visited Sierra Leone. Truly, with all this travel, now the government is forcing an event on the country for pretend that, oh, after all, the president is known because he has traveled to these places. But this is the first time they are forcing this event in the period of serious crisis. Yeah. So what are they trying to arrive at now that? I think if we continue to amplify these citizens' voices, what it does is that it provides a contending narrative to the state. Because society people, they talk, they're not able to articulate and show evidence of different from what in the government they show.
I don't want to lose my thoughts on that. Obviously, you've nailed the press with few exceptions. You know, we've been part of the conversation.
But are you astounded again by the silence of the interreligious community, or are they through the non-box them up and the CSOs? Weigh in, please.
No, I think the civil society space, not specifically, I hate to enter into religious conversations by nature of it. I leave religious leaders with their own congregations, okay? So the active civic society space, is what is interesting. By October last year, the civil society, large sector of the civil society was active following the McCain standoff between what appeared to be members of the Poro Society and the indictment of the former president. Many of them were calling for and condemning the incidents. They did not condemn the riot, the incident that led to the deaths of 5 people. Many of them never condemned the police, but then they were condemning the standoff mounted by members of the Poro Society in the name of fighting to stop corruption. Then all of a sudden, we have published this barrage of evidence, and none of them, with the exception of few, I think Marcella spoke about it on radio that I heard, but apart from that, I am yet to hear the voices of some of those supposedly independent civil society people who are actors against corruption in the past. They are now silent, pretending that this is not even happening. They are now talking about census. Yeah. They are not talking about the need for census, but they cannot talk about the need to carry out a holistic investigation to prove whether these evidences are the case or not. In fact, they are supporting the government's narrative that this is not evidence of corruption, even though parliamentarians have written to the finance minister, to the bank governor, inviting them to parliament or inviting them for an explanation regarding these disbursements.
Chernoh, two final questions.
But I have said in the past that many of them are also on payrolls. Okay, I have said that before, and in the chief minister's account that we published, you can find the details of some of the civil society people. Hawa Samai, for example, was given a contract to. So these are examples. You see, the two are related. The construction of the space, people and determination for engaged government and hold leaders accountable and speak out, and come to this question of the presidential guard force presenting an audio to threaten people with death if you then continue for express their civic rights and human rights, right to assembly, right to speech, and all that. Nothing of that nature will happen without the authorization of this current president. And the president don't indicate that, he don't tell me that. He was on radio a couple of days ago, weeks, and on a supposed town hall where he said, they asked him, what do you think of the ongoing harassment, basically the ongoing media harassment of the Auditor General by members of your party? Because the Global Times, that is in the forefront of the media campaign against the First Lady, is owned and operated by SLPP, members of the SLPP, who are not only members of the party, but members of the administration. A board chairman, Suri Fofana, is the leading owner of the paper. The former editor or the editor of the paper is also the board chairman of the Salone Road Safety Authority. So this paper, nine the lead, and two journalists there, and then paper, nine lead the attack against the 40 and even the attack against me. So they asked the president a simple question: what do you think of the harassment of this woman, the audit service, for having done so wonderful? Yeah. He said, what do you say about my wife? Okay.
Were you disappointed or was it expected?
So basically, that tells you the president, the
mindset.
Yeah. What do you think? What do you think about the division in the country? The country is polarized. He said, I'm not responsible for that. Everybody, that's how I inherited it, and it's going to be that way. So,
wow, Mr. Bah.
Basically, you don't have to look too far.
Yeah, exactly, Mr. Bah.
Who we are. So when things change, people will either fall with the state or rise with the people. That's how we have to make the conversation.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bah. Sister Kadi Johnson Cole, I mean, you've been very patient with us, and you make one contribution to the program. The other guests, they've been observers in the back room, which is not too bad enough. So give me one final 2 minutes of your overview of the program, and any other thoughts. Just 2 minutes, please. Sister Kadi Johnson Cole. You're mute.
Mr. Badia, clarify something for me. You mentioned about JMB wing. Did they get funds from the government? I don't understand. I don't pick that side. Mr. Badongo?
No,
you.
Are they asking? You mentioned.
I just mentioned these various.
Did they get money from the government?
No, I now make a comment on their source of funding for now. I just talk about the Mother and Fatima Bio Foundation. I just point to the fact that there's these different components of the operation where we also have to pay attention to. But I don't have to precipitate what is going on there for now.
What I want to you, Mr. Ba, funnily, me and somebody, I've been talking with somebody tonight before even I just done at the time I realized this program they on where I see wins a message. I don't forget say we had a mention to the person say any government will come in power next. If Mr. Ba continue for do this work where he do so they forgive him an award, they forgive him one of the highest award in Salone. That was what I said actually today, this evening, just before I come on this show. Yes, so I want to thank you very, very much for all which you don't do because we don't ever see journalists in a Salone for go to such length. We go. And anybody we like Sierra Leone, no go against we see you don't see. It's so easy for CC. There is some truth, if not 100% truth, you understand, but I think there's a degree of truth, but always you don't tell me for make anybody will like Salone, not for doubt you, for applaud you for that. You see, even though the government not will see you that way, the members, supporters of the government would not see you that way, would not even appreciate the length that you don't go through. But me want to tell you thank you, and I would like for you continue to do that work because me, anybody where they fight corruption, are always been at the same page with that person. I support anybody's fight corruption. If they fight corruption against me, your husband say for me picking them, I will support you. So long as you fight corruption, because corruption don't make so many people they suffer in a Salone. So many people they did in a Salone with poverty. So now that's what I just want to say. I want to tell you thank you and not give up and not succumb to people that will try to discourage you from doing what you want to do. We are all for you. Now the very first time this actually see them they listen to you for the very first time. Although I can hear with you they say. So me in a one person way, I really applaud you and I thank you so much. If I am to be the next president of Sierra Leone, I can assure you that you'll get the highest award. Thank you so much. Okay? Now that's number one thing. Thank you, Mr. Kroma.
Yes, Sister, thank you so much for your contribution. And obviously, Mr. Badon wrap up the program. What an awesome program this has been. What an awesome road this has been. Mr. Bad never disappoints. And you can see the sentiments expressed by one of we observers in the room. We happen for meet Mr. Ba tonight and able to talk to him directly and appreciate the work we're doing. I'm sure there are millions and millions of Sierra Leoneans who discourage social media all of the time. And we know the message they resonate. We have to make that absolutely clear. And there are people, like I say again, millions who really appreciate the work that is being done. And any work which is done on a righteous ground, obviously, shall prevail. It's as simple as that. Many, many thanks, Mr. Ba.
Thank you.
Okay, so Fambule, we don't effectively come to the end of the program. I will just play the national anthem for one final time, and then we close this program. But it's been a wonderful run, and we still get about almost 400 people still in on the platform. So they are going to begin for wind down now as the platform, as the national anthem they play. We officially usher in the 60th birth anniversary of the country, the nation, Sierra Leone. and in 8 minutes time. So again, I tell you now, the program don't effectively finish. So we wind down now. So family, and please when I begin for come off the platform, because I'm not just one log off on over 300 people. Thank you so much for watching, and happy Independence anniversary to everybody. Everybody, I mean everybody. Thank you so much all. Okay.
Forefathers spread, mighty the nation whom they led. Down that we love our Sierra, Saparas and the voices on high, the hills and the valleys we echo our cry. Blessings of peace. Oh yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is it. I mean, I feel so good I'll be able to bring this. There's a lot ongoing with the platform, so you can see we've not been consistent at all. But at least we try to do when and if we can. And on the eve of Sierra Leone's independence, on the eve of the birth of a nation with so much aspirations, with so much hope for a brighter future, here we are today, and we throw that back to Una. What do you think? How do you think? Waiting on our thoughts. I mean, we've come a long way. On this occasion, I want to wish the country a happy 63 years anniversary. I know it's not happy for all and for most, but at least we still have a country. And the idea that we need to come together as a people, never giving up, because if you give up, then you are equally as good as dead. But we need to come up with ideas, and this business where we get into, whether on a podcast, social media, the conversation as was articulated by Mr. Chernoh Alpha M Bah, which is, as long as people are having this conversation where they transcend waiting politician and one for let we think, the idea we're thinking for ourselves, and we're having these conversations and they challenge them, in itself is a good thing. Changes does not come instantly. It's persistence, it's perseverance, that one day we go say, never again. I mean, we've had enough of this. Why up till now, 63 years old, we not get electricity, sustainable electricity, sustainable running pipe-borne water, and so many other things, a good healthcare system, opportunities for work for a young, restless population. And yet the politicians they now want for giving a different narrative, and they expect for ram and down with throats as usual, and we're saying, no, we're not having it. They're trying to blame a young population for being lazy. That all what they waiting and they go through, they ask for this themselves. This is what they want. Other than that, they can change the narrative. Of course, they can change the narrative, although not to so the government and supporters they try for put them. They can feed themselves. Of course, they can feed themselves when you make the provision. You haven't. Economy has failed. Now, under a thriving economy, now the citizens themselves can help for make the economy even more thriving by being an active participant, because you don't provide the structure, the foundation for let them function as then due responsibilities as citizens under the republic. But like I say again, greetings to all on the eve of the 63rd birth of a nation. I tell you now all, thank you for listening. And there are many more programs they come. We still try for settle. The water, it look a bit choppy and rough for we at the TNN podcast. But notwithstanding, we are very much around. Many thanks for listening. And can I say goodbye to all for now? Please don't forget to share. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you for listening. Happy anniversary. I can go start me own now.